So a lot of you probably clicked on this video with some sort of idea of what I was going to talk about. Maybe you thought I was going to talk about all the incidents that have happened at the park lately, or how I thought the park wasn't as good as I thought it would have been. Well, that's not really what I'll be discussing today. I visited Six Flags Great Adventure in 2019, 2020, and most recently in July of 2021. Don't get it twisted, I really like this park. In fact, this park probably competes for a spot in my top 5 favorite parks of all time. However, there's something I really have picked up on during my visits to the park, especially during my most recent visit to the park with the opening of Jersey Devil Coaster. And that is, the park kind of leaves a lot to be desired. Okay, before you dislike the video, let me elaborate a bit. Great Adventure excels in a lot of the key categories like rides and operations for the most part, but otherwise it kind of feels like they do the bare minimum work in most other things that you'd look for in an amusement park. The theming is low effort in most places, the appearance is just okay, the food is fine, and there's not even a hotel anywhere near the park. It feels like they just put in enough effort into this park to keep it at a fairly high level. One thing I think we need to remember is that this is the world's second largest amusement park and is one of the most highly attended seasonal amusement parks in the whole country. It also sits between Philadelphia and New York City, giving it potentially one of the best possible locations for an amusement park. I feel like Great Adventure has, or at least had, potential to be the best amusement park in the whole world. In fact, Six Flags once had plans to turn this park into a worldwide destination not too long ago. Unfortunately, these plans slipped away from reality as the instability of Six Flags cost Great Adventure a chance at greatness. Today, I'll be discussing the troubled history of Six Flags Great Adventure and how today's park is just a shell of what it could have been. This is actually one of many parks that have had a lot of potential that was sort of washed away at one point. So if there's another park you'd like to see a video like this about, make sure to let me know down in the comments below. Also, speaking of that, if you want to see something like that, make sure to do me a huge favor by liking this video and subscribing to the channel, which will in turn show me that you are enjoying this video and I'll be more likely to make more of them. With that being said, let's jump into the sad truth about Six Flags Great Adventure. Let's take a trip back to 1989, as this is about when Six Flags Great Adventure began to take off. Six Flags had just been acquired by Premier Parks, who would rapidly expand most of their parks in the late 90s and early 2000s. This was exactly the case for Six Flags Great Adventure. Premier installed a dozen new flat rides, a new kiddie area, including a kiddie coaster called Roadrunner Railway. They also installed a new junior coaster called Blackbeard's Lost Treasure Train, which is now known as Harley Quinn Crazy Train. The biggest addition of the bunch was a new $15 million B&M floorless roller coaster called Medusa, now known as Bizarro. Amazingly, this all came in the same year in 1999. However, compared to the expansion of some other parks like Six Flags Ohio, Great Adventure didn't receive quite as much. But this many additions in one year is still unheard of for today. The park didn't get any additions in 2000, but a separate gated water park was added adjacent to the park, which helped to increase the property's offerings. The little break from the dry park wouldn't last long, because in 2001 the park added a massive B&M hypercoaster called Nitro that cost $20 million. This gave the park a new state-of-the-art headlining attraction to further expand upon the park's great coaster lineup. In 2002, Batman and Robin the Chiller was renovated and received new trains that didn't have shoulder harnesses, making for a much more enjoyable ride experience. 2003 saw the addition of a new B&M flying coaster called Superman Ultimate Flight that was a clone of the same coaster at Six Flags Over Georgia. Regardless, Great Adventure was following a pattern of adding a new major roller coaster every other year, so this led to Great Adventure's coaster collection growing very quickly and ranking among one of the best in the world. This pattern would continue into 2005, but at that time a different plan was set in place.
A golden kingdom has been discovered at Six Flags Great Adventure. A land of mystery, a land of intrigue, and rising above it all, the tallest, fastest roller coaster on Earth, Kingda Ka.
In 2005, Six Flags Great Adventure debuted their most highly themed area yet, the Golden Kingdom. The park added a new children's area called Ballin's Jungle Land that encompassed 4 themed rides from the old kids area, a new elephant ride, a water playground, and several multi-level treehouse climb structures. A new 1,000-seat theater was added and a 33,000 square foot exhibit area complete with viewing windows allowed visitors to come face to face with the show's cast of Bengal tigers. Oh yeah, they also added the world's tallest roller coaster in Kingda Ka. Kingda Ka quickly garnered much attention with its staggering height of 456 feet and breathtaking speeds of over 128 miles per hour. In addition to all these signature attractions, the Golden Kingdom had a full complement of support facilities, including numerous new merchandise locations and new and rethemed food outlets. Animal ambassadors also roamed the area and educated guests about their smaller handheld creatures and allowed guests to get up close to their furry and sometimes scaly friends. All of this combined made for a world-class addition to the park, as this was proclaimed to be the nicest area of the entire park, as the area was really well done and themed very well. According to the vice president and general manager of the park, Rick McCurley, the Golden Kingdom was the park's first step to transform the world's largest regional theme park into a true family destination. Anyone who visited the Golden Kingdom would be hard-pressed to dispute that statement, and the news that would quickly follow the land's introduction would surely support his words. The Viper roller coaster would be demolished to make way for the next step in the transformation. Great Adventure would also present plans to the town board to add a long-anticipated hotel for the park. These plans would continue into 2006 as Plaza del Carnaval and Bugs Bunny National Park areas would be added to the park. However, when these areas were beginning the construction process, the plans for the park would be altered forever. El Toro, an Intamin prefab coaster, was added in 2006 along with a new kids area. Any plans after this would be halted. Six Flags was under new management, being headed by Dan Snyder and Mark Shapiro. The park would have 2 general managers this season, the first of which being Ron Seavart from January to September, and then Mark Kane. When the new management rolled in, the risk of bankruptcy for Six Flags was so high, any plans to heavily invest in the park were canceled. This included the hotel project being put on hold, which as we know today was the end of that project. That same season, the new management increased admission and parking prices. They also increased advertising inside of the park, which is a modern day Six Flags trait. 2007 was the year where new management was fully in the driver's seat for the park's additions. The park added another area devoted to children called Wiggles World. However, the bigger headline would be the rides removed from the park. While no adult rides were added in 2007, several were removed, including the Riptide Flume, Spin Meester, and the very popular Freefall Drop Tower. Removing rides would prove to be a growing trend during the Shapiro years as a way to cut costs and retire aging equipment. On the positive side, the park did attempt to revamp the chiller, but unfortunately technical issues persisted, and this resulted in the removal of the coaster at the conclusion of the season. 2008 saw the addition of a new roller coaster, the Dark Knight, an indoor wild mouse. This coaster may have seemed a little small for the park, but the highly themed experience sort of saved this ride from being a pointless addition. In 2009, Medusa was rethemed to Bizarro and had new effects and theming added. 2010 came with another major removal in the form of Great American Scream Machine. This was said to be removed for a major attraction, but it was replaced by Green Lantern, which was just a relocated B&M stand-up coaster from Kentucky Kingdom. 2012 saw the Skyscreamer come to the park, which is a solid flat ride, but it's dwarfed by some of the other rides at the park. 2012 also saw the announcement of the Safari Park being merged with the Dry Park for 2013 to give them the title of being the second largest amusement park in the world behind Animal Kingdom. Unfortunately, the park removed Rolling Thunder, the park's classic wooden dueling coaster. This marked 3 major coaster removals since 2007. The only coasters that were added during that time frame were a Wild Mouse and relocated stand-up. The park added Zumanjaro Drop of Doom, the world's tallest drop tower, the next year in 2014. This ride was built into Kingda Ka's structure, so due to New Jersey law, these rides could not operate at the same time until this season, which lowered the efficiency of both rides just to add a gimmicky flat ride. In 2015, the park added a super loop called El Diablo. This ride did not fit the park at all. Six Flags did recognize this as they removed it in 2018, but still, a Larson super loop at this park? 2016 rolled around and the park received the Joker, a 40 free spin. This ride isn't bad at all, but it's a clone and it's a low capacity attraction. The park got a new dark ride called Justice League Battle for Metropolis, which I was actually a big fan of, but it was a clone ride and nothing unique to the park for the 2017 season. In 2018, the park got another gimmicky flat ride with Cyborg. 2019 brought the park another flat ride with a Zimpala Giant Discovery called Wonder Woman, which is still a pretty dang good addition for the park, but yet again, another cloned, cheaper ride. 2020 was the year Great Adventure was finally supposed to get a major roller coaster. The park received Jersey Devil Coaster, an RMC Raptor, which ended up being delayed until 2021, but it still ended up being a great addition. This coaster actually ranks in my personal top 10 roller coasters, but here's the problem I have with this ride. I don't really think it fits the park. RMC Raptors were intended for smaller parks that wanted a cheap, thrilling addition, not a massive park like Six Flags Great Adventure. The ride fits at the park very well, but I just think this ride feels a tad out of place compared to all the giant B&Ms and Intamins at the park. You probably started picking up on a little trend here. Ever since new management took over, the park received a lot of cheaper, gimmicky additions. This pattern was unfortunately followed by a lot of budget cuts throughout the park on smaller things that really go a long way to making a park great. I think one big tell-all of the whole situation is Kingda Ka. Kingda Ka has 2 loading stations that can hold up to 4 trains at once in the station, yet Six Flags only chooses to run one of the 4 loading areas to save money. Today, the park just looks worn down. It looks neglected in some areas and looks like a shell of its former self. Large major coasters were torn down and replaced by cheap thrilling additions. These days, the park seems to focus on cheap thrills, which is great from certain aspects. Admission prices are cheaper these days, the park is more accessible, but I really think that this park has so much more potential than it is showing right now. If Six Flags just gave this park some TLC, stopped cutting some corners, and improved the appearance of the park, then it would make this park a world-class park on its own. Unfortunately, this will probably never happen due to the way Six Flags runs their parks nowadays, which is truly a shame. The park is still very solid in its current state, but knowing what could have been is really the sad truth about Six Flags Great Adventure. That'll do it for today's video. If you have an opinion on this topic, please feel free to share it with me in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more coaster related content coming soon. With that being said, I'd like to thank you all for watching and I'll see you all in the next video.